Hey guys, finally this is it, my review of the OnePlus One, and since there's a lot of things to talk about, I don't want to waste too much time anymore, but just a little heads up, the middle part this time is scripted, but it contains all the necessary information I think you should know. But then again, the end is off script again. I will give you a recap with my personal opinion and a few final words, so let's damn it. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about the design and the build quality. The first thing I want to start with is the button and port placement. The power button on the right side is pretty much placed perfectly, very intuitive and easy to reach. On the left hand side we see the volume rocker, very smart placed as well. Accidental hits shouldn't be any issue at all. On the top we have the headphone jack. I would wish to be at the bottom, and left to it there is one microphone. At the bottom we can see the micro USB port, in the middle another microphone and the dual mono speakers. Yes, mono and no stereo after all, but I will tell you why I don't see this to be any issue later in the audio part of this review. If you now check the look and finish of the phone, you will see very smart and nice curves all around the device. There are no sharp edges at all, not even the small lip around the display like on the Nexus 5. The chrome border looks even more elegant in person than on pictures. The device in overall feels very solid, sturdy and premium. There is no flex and no creaking at all. The finish of the back is slightly odd at first moment since it's so unique and different. The good thing though is it feels very premium, nice and provides a very good amount of grip no matter if you have dry or sweaty hands. It is also very fingerprint resistant and seems durable for now. It will be interesting to see for how long though. But what about the size and feel in the hand? No matter what, the device is huge after all, very tall, what makes it top heavy and slightly harder to hold on safely. But other than that, it actually works quite well, and despite all my previous gripes with the size, I got way easier and quicker used to it than ever expected. But still, it's quite hard to reach the opposite side of the screen, and reaching the status bar in one hand is almost impossible with regular sized hands. The capacitive back button on the right side is quite smart and actually makes a lot of sense on such a big phone. But in the end, you will just have to fiddle with it in the hand more than you would usually have on any smaller phone. We have a 5.5 1080p IPS display. Of course, this makes the screen less dense than any 5-inch 1080p phone, but it is way more than sharp enough after all. In terms of brightness, there is nothing to be concerned about. The screen is very bright, at about the same level as the Nexus 5, so visibility in sunlight should be quite good. The white is quite warm and even slightly yellow, but the white balance option is supposed to come soon, which should take care of that. Blacks are quite good, slightly better than on the Nexus 5, but not by a lot. The higher the brightness, the worse it will get, but in the end it is still comparable to all the other phones up at the top. Colors out of the box are fine, not super accurate, but they can be adjusted in the settings after all, which is more than just a nice bonus since it gives every user the possibility to exactly get the colors he personally prefers. So if you want accurate, you can get that. If you want more punch, you can get that as well. Viewing angles are very good and only start washing out in diagonal angles, which is a common thing on IPS displays and no worse than on any other display. In fact, viewing angles are even slightly better than on the Nexus 5. There are two things to mention though, one possibly bigger thing and one smaller. The smaller one you shouldn't really concern about is the touch responsiveness. It can fully compete with the Nexus 5, this doesn't mean it's bad though, but noticeable after all. Mostly while fast typing, the phone seems it can't always keep quite up with. The other bigger issue though is the high chance to get a display with the infamous yellow tint issue. There are 2 or 3 different versions of this issue here. One where the whole screen just seems way too yellow, one with yellow spots all over the screen, and the most common one I'm experiencing on mine as well, what would be the yellow banding at the bottom of the screen. It is a visible yellow tint about almost a centimeter that can be quite annoying, because once you see it, it's impossible to unsee it again. The good thing to mention here though is the very solid screen, since there is no flex or banding distortion at all, no matter how hard you squeeze or press on the screen. Let's start the sound part with the speakers first, and like always I will give you a small demo and tell you my thoughts afterwards. So my thoughts now, the maximum volume is pretty impressive, what makes it one of the loudest available ones out there. A minimal amount of bass is noticeable that even slightly lets the phone vibrate. Mids are fine and the treble is very nicely balanced since it never gets distorted or too harsh at all, not even at maximum volume. But according to Francisco Franco, who also provides a custom kernel for this device, the speaker and headphone levels already are pretty much maxed out to the point where they provide the highest volume but don't start to distort yet. So don't expect any further boosting here in the future, not that it's necessary in the first place. The speaker placement itself isn't the best but still quite okay. With a normal grip you will most times though block at least one speaker. The bright side here is one is always free because we have two speakers. And speaking about those, OnePlus had to admit, in fact we only got dual mono speakers and not like advertised stereo speakers. But actually I can't seem to find the problem here. The gap between the speakers is too small for any real stereo effect anyways, and in my opinion a stereo effect in landscape would be weird after all, since it wouldn't be left-right but top-bottom. And landscape is the orientation you will mostly use the speakers after all, that's why I'm totally fine with the speakers the way they are. Loud, crisp and clear, all fine here. It is recommended though to hold your hands close to the speakers so the sound can reflect. This ends in a way louder and better overall speaker sound. The sound that comes out of the headphone jack is quite good as well, good amount of volume, slightly warm and bassy with slightly toned down treble. The balance makes it quite nice to listen to music on headphones, and if you don't like it you can still adjust it to your taste in the equalizer that is provided out of the box, even if it didn't seem to work for me. Daily life performance is very fast and smooth, even faster than on an Nexus 5. But using the Nexus 5 with the developer preview of L and Art will end up in an even faster and smoother, more consistent performance after all. But things will shift in favor to the OnePlus again once the newest version of Android along with Art is available for the OnePlus as well. But even both with the same conditions, the OnePlus feels ever so slightly less snappy and responsive. The difference is marginal though, and it's still on a very high level after all. Browsing is super smooth and rendering is fast. It's slightly surprising for me to see Chrome has finally the upper hand in terms of overall performance compared to the WebView based browsers. Performance within apps is absolutely top notch, everything is sailing smoothly along, and even G Plus doesn't even feel as heavy and laggy as usual. One thing to mention here is the exceptional PDF performance, because it's insanely smooth with the best and fastest rendering I've seen so far. Games like Riptide 2 and Asphalt 8 are very well playable and frames that are mostly very solid, but on the highest graphic settings a few rare slowdowns are visible after all. The Snapdragon 801 should definitely provide a more than satisfying gaming performance, so there's no actual need to worry about anything here. A few quick notes on the side. The recent apps window opens slightly laggy and delayed most times. Wi-Fi signal is strong and fast. Same thing sadly can't be said for the cell reception and mobile data. Here the signal is way worse and especially more wonky and less reliable than on all other phones I've tested so far. It could be the known bad signal at my workplace, but I had a lot of trouble with that data, where I just couldn't send or receive any data anymore until I either walked a bit searching for a better signal or disabling and re-enabling my data, which seemed to help, but felt like a temporary solution after all. Last note here, not all LTE bands in all countries are supported, so if LTE is important for you, be sure to check all available bands before you think about buying the OnePlus. Good battery life is crucial for every phone, because even the best phone is useless once the battery is dead. But I can already tell you there is no need for concern here. The phone needs 2 hours for a full charge. This is very impressive and only achieved by a very few other phones on the market. Only the Oppo Find 7 and 7a are noticeably faster here. But it's not just great in terms of charging, but also in holding on to that charge. Battery life is very solid and long lasting. Here are a few examples for you just to get a better picture. I did a few cycles here testing different scenarios, but also normal daily use to see how well it does. 30 minutes of YouTube 720p streaming at 100% needed 10% of battery. 30 minutes of YouTube 720p streaming at 25% needed 7% battery. I got 5 hours of screen on time at 100% brightness with 11 hours of total. I got close to 7 hours of screen on time at 25% brightness with 17 hours of total. Both results are on Wi-Fi only. Using a mix of both Wi-Fi and mobile data, which is my typical use, I achieved about 5 hours of screen on time at 25% brightness with a total of 22 hours. 25% brightness is the percentage that is totally good enough for me at any time, besides bright sunlight of course. The same test with 50% brightness ended up with slightly over 4 hours of screen on time. So there's not much else to say but the fact I think the battery life is very good, better than anything I've used so far by a lot. In normal use, it would be almost impossible for me to kill the battery on one single day. The phone comes with CyanogenMod 11S and Android 4.4.2 out of the box. You get a pretty much stock UI, but also with the option of CyanogenMod's own very capable theming engine that allows you to customize your system the way you want it to look like. The amount of themes is constantly growing. It would be nice to see more good free ones though, since you have to pay for the majority of them right now. In terms of features, it offers everything stock 4.4.2 has, but also provides a lot of stock is missing. I will get more in depth about those added features in my upcoming CM11S ROM review soon. There are a few small bugs, like the button backlight gets enabled on every restart even though it was disabled before. But other than that, it's mostly quite fine and there's not really anything to complain about. The overall experience is very nice, especially if you consider this being a third-party UI. It is really impressive. Feature-wise, it is better than stock, even though not always as up-to-date as vanilla. Since we are talking about CyanogenMod here, I think that what I would call XDA qualities should be mentioned here as well. The device was very easy and quick to unlock and root. ROM support at the moment is quite poor. Besides Paranoid Android and Madi, there's not really anything to mention yet, but I hope things will improve in time once the OnePlus gets broader availability. Same goes for the kernel support, but at least there's one big name already present, Francisco Franco. This alone seems to be reason enough for a lot of people already to jump on board, even if it doesn't excite me too much after all yet. So the scripted part is over, and as always I want to give you a small recap now and my personal opinion, and let's start with the design. First of all, the design itself is practically perfect. Okay, it is big, but once you get over this, you get a really amazing feeling device. Everything is premium, and I don't really have to say anything more about that. The display is another thing, because if flawless, you get a really nice, bright, vibrant display with a lot of nice colors, and only the not so perfect white that is slightly yellow, but a white balance will come. But as I said, if you get a flawless device, because mine has the yellow tint issue, and I think if you follow Google Plus a bit, you will notice a lot of people complaining about right now. And then there's the OnePlus support thing, but I will talk about that later. But like I said, if you don't get this yellow tint problem, you get a really nice display. I have it, and it's a bit of a thing. Nah. And there's the response, I wouldn't say responsiveness issue, but it is not up to par with the very best out there, but still definitely more than okay. About the sound, I can't complain about the sound. It is very loud, maybe not super rich, but loud is good enough for me. I don't block the speakers most of the time, so I am happy with the sound, nothing to complain. Loud and clear, brilliant. That's enough for me in terms of sound. In terms of the performance, there's nothing to complain at all. It is slightly faster out of the box than the Nexus 5. Okay, with Android L, things change a bit, but as I said, when the OnePlus gets L, things will change again, and then it will be incredibly super smooth, I guess. Everything, performance, there's nothing to complain about. The battery life, absolutely the same. I got about 5 hours every day, and I couldn't even kill it, because usually I use it 2, if it's heavy, 3 hours on a day. But this gave me about 5 hours on a total day, like I said, 24 hours, something like that. So battery life is great. I had no problem at all, and like I said, I don't think I can kill it in one day. This is the phone you can get a full day without a charge, at least in my case. As for the software, compared to any custom ROM, CyanogenMod is, I would say, poor in terms of features. But if you see this as a stock third-party UI, it is pretty impressive. Why? Because you get stock Android with a lot of enhancing useful features like the black screen gestures and all the small, custom ROM features. I like these a lot. You can customize the buttons and all these stuff, the theming engine, and that is a nice addition. So if you see it like this, if you are no ROMer or so, and get just CyanogenMod, you will get a great system. I can't complain, it was stable. I had a few force closes. I'm not really sure if it's a theme thing or so, but in terms of the system, I am happy and I can't complain. If you get this out of the box as a non-custom ROMer, you will get happy. If you are a custom ROMer though and like more stuff, then of course the Nexus is always your first thing to get. But I think there will be a few good ROMs out there, like Madi is already there, Omni is there, and also Paranoid Android, and the custom kernel support should eventually come, but as I said, you don't need any more performance, and battery life is also already great. Okay, that's it for my recap, but there are a few things I have to talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about is the company itself. We all know OnePlus lied a lot about it, and they try to talk themselves out of practically everything. And here's one thing, the yellow tint issue, if you heard about it. And that's the second thing I want to talk about, is the support. Because a few people on G Plus commented they had a yellow tint. They contacted the support because of an RMA. And what did OnePlus say? They said it's intentional. Hey, you can't say me this yellow tint at the bottom is intentional, because if I take a cloth and rub against it a bit, the yellow tint is gone for a few minutes, because maybe the glue beside, and I can press it down. I don't have this issue with the whole yellow tint or with the yellow spots, only at the bottom, and I can squeeze it away. It doesn't go away for all the time though. It is said to be on UV lights, so it goes away. I will test this. I didn't have much sun last week, so for now. But as I said, if I can get it away, I am happy with this device. If there's not one thing more, and that's my bad cell reception. A lot of times at work, my data still showed me 3G, but just didn't send or receive anything. And this was extremely annoying, because it happened like every 5 minutes. Whenever I took out my phone and wanted to search something, I couldn't. I had 3G, all the bars, but I didn't get any data. And the cell reception itself is also definitely way weaker. At least I've heard it's a CyanogenMod thing on my phone, because if I have the Nexus 5 next to it and lay both down on the table, the Nexus 5 has, like, let's say 3 bars constantly, and the OnePlus jumps around from 0 to 3 bars all the time. 4 bars are a really rare thing, but it jumps around all the time. I don't really know why, because I don't even know how many messages I got delayed because I didn't have a connection back then and the push message didn't get through. About phone calls, I didn't have any dropped phone calls yet, but maybe it's just a matter of time. And then the last thing, so like I said, the support is, they didn't want to change the phone. They said it's intentional. And like I said, this can't be intentional, because Oppo Find 7a has the same issue, but says they admit it and they replace your phone. And that's the way to do it. But in the first place, it shouldn't even happen, especially if it's a known issue right from the start from the 7a. And the last thing I want to talk about are the invites. Okay, it's a piss poor idea in my opinion, but things got better, because if I look, at least the people I know on G Plus, practically almost everyone got a G Plus OnePlus invite by now. So things are getting slowly better right now. Okay, I was one of the earlier ones to get one, but I see in the next 1 or 2 things, I think the production maybe got pushed and things get better, I think, because I see way more people now having a OnePlus, and maybe this will also be the moment when we see a lot of people more complaining about the yellow tint issue. So the last 2 questions I always want to answer: would I recommend it and would I buy it? Would I recommend it? Most definitely, but I will warn you, the size, you have to get used to it. I did pretty quickly, and I don't even want to go back anymore, I think, because 5.5 inch is so amazing for typing. I really love the typing experience. It is so much better. If the touch response would be as good as on the Nexus 5, it would be even better. The next thing you have to know about this device if you want to buy it, like I said, is the cell reception. That is flaky. You don't have all the LTE bands in every country, because in my country there's one provider. I don't have the band if I would want LTE. I don't have LTE, so it's no issue for me. And then there's the yellow tint issue you have to know. But other than that, the device is practically, I wouldn't say perfect, but I would say flawless. Besides that, because the build quality and everything else, the performance, the sound, everything is very, very high, and the all-round package is very close to perfect if it wouldn't be for those bad flaws. Would I buy it? Yeah, I think it's pretty much I bought it. But I still have my Nexus 5, and the thing is, will I keep it? And I have to know about the reception. If it's really a ROM thing, I can get past that. If I get the yellow stain away, I can get past that as well. And maybe I can even accept it, because mine isn't that bad from what I saw on G+. But I think I will keep it because I really, really like it. The device overall is just, I can highly recommend it if you want a bigger, really high performance phone and you have no problem with CyanogenMod or any modding as well, because I want to root, it is rooted, and I want to ROM, and I hope a few good ROMs will come. But like I said, Madi's already there. But if Madi doesn't fix my cell reception issue, we'll see. But just for quick, I like it a lot, but there are a few flaws you have to consider. And if you like CyanogenMod, if you like OnePlus, is another thing. Either you hate them or you like them. CyanogenMod is nothing I really like or hate. I don't have a problem with them. The ROM itself is quite good, so that's okay. OnePlus is another thing. What they did was shit. I have to say this like that, because if their customer service is really that bad and they don't want to admit the issue with the display, that's a really big issue. And the invite system, let's say their approach was wrong, but if it turns out to be okay, because I see a lot of people saying by the time I can get one, it won't be up to date anymore. But this is a 801, and the Nexus 5 is almost a year old now. Not a year, but it is still top notch in performance. With L, it got incredibly smooth. So this phone, even in 1 year, if it gets L, will be incredibly smooth. I don't see anything that would change that. So I think I said pretty much everything. If there's anything I've missed, please let me know in the comments. If you like this review or the scripted part or anything, let me know in the comments. So until next time.